Minasan, yokoso. Hi everybody, welcome to Edupedia World. This is an in-depth self-study course that will take you from beginners to intermediate level Japanese via a step-by-step approach. This approach will help you to gain confidence and essential skills in understanding and communicating in Japanese language, and the practical content will enable you to transfer your learning easily to business and social situations both in Japan and in your own country. A particular feature of this course is the opportunity to learn to read Japanese, a skill often considered to be the most difficult to acquire when learning Japanese language. You will find this course very useful whether you're planning a trip to Japan or just you want to communicate better with Japanese colleagues or friends, or you just simply want the personal satisfaction of mastering a foreign language. Japanese language is spoken by 126 million people both in Japan and around the world. It is the fifth most popular foreign language in the USA. Currently, about 3 million people around the world, including 2 million Chinese, are learning Japanese language. Now, is it a very difficult language? A popular perception is that Japanese language is very difficult and people will always be impressed when you tell them that you're learning this language. Of course, it would be misleading to say that it does not have any difficult elements, and it is generally held that it takes about 5 years to reach a similar level in Japanese as you would take in 3 years in a European language. But however, there are some features of the Japanese language that make it very simple and logical, especially when you compare it with the irregularities of your native language or English language. Some of the grammar rules in Japanese language are: there is no masculine and feminine in Japanese, and most words do not have a plural. There is no conjugation of verbs, so the verb ending remains the same regardless of who does the action. For example, I go, he goes, and so forth are all covered by ikimasu in Japanese language. Some of the regular pronunciation rules are: Japanese has relatively easy pronunciation rules. Sounds are created by combining the 5 standard vowel sounds A, E, I, O, U. A is pronounced as A in Japanese language. I is pronounced as E in Japanese language. U is pronounced as U in Japanese language. E is pronounced as A, and O is pronounced as O. Some Japanese words using identical sounds are distinguished in pronunciation through the use of high and low pitch. For example, the word hashi, H-A-S-H-I, can mean either bridge or chopsticks. Hashi means chopsticks and hashi means bridge. I know it's slightly difficult to catch up. However, pitch is neither as strong as stressed accent nor as complex as in tonal languages such as Chinese language. The Japanese language is rich with words borrowed from other languages, particularly English. This means that although Japanese is not related structurally to English, you will find many recognizable clues. For example, cake is pronounced as keiki in Japanese language. Computer is pronounced as computa in Japanese language. Television is pronounced as terebi. Soccer is pronounced as sakka. Can you work out the meaning of these words? There are also many Japanese or Japanese invented words and brands which have become part of everyday English language. For example, Walkman, Pokemon, karaoke, samurai, Mitsubishi, Toyota, Sony, etc. The Japanese language originated in Central Asia and it is structurally closest to Korean. It is not structurally linked to Chinese, but it is from China that it received and developed its complex writing system. The sentence order is different to English. Japanese sentence order has the basic pattern of subject, object, and verb, but whereas in English it is subject, verb, and object. For example, in English we would say I eat cake, which in Japanese translates to I cake eat. This means that essentially Japanese sentence order is backwards to English, and the main point to remember here is that the verb comes at the end of the sentence. The aim of this course is to help you interact with Japanese people through a range of everyday and useful situations such as meeting and greetings, speaking on the phone, sightseeing, business interactions, shopping, eating out, etc. How to be successful at learning Japanese language? A little often is far more effective than a long session every now and then. So try and put in about 20 to 30 minutes of regular study every day. Find time to study in a quiet room where you can speak out loud. This will help you to focus on building up your speaking and listening skills in an environment where you can concentrate and literally hear yourself speak. Do not be too harsh on yourself. Learning a foreign language is a gradual and cumulative process, and everyone makes mistakes. You must not expect to be perfect straight away, and you can't be expected to remember every item of vocabulary and every new structure. So let your learning grow slowly and surely, and do not be impatient with yourself. Seek out opportunities to use your Japanese language. You don't have to go to Japan to do this. Find out about Japanese societies, go to a Japanese restaurant and practice ordering in Japanese, ask a Japanese friend to speak with you in Japanese, and areas where you can hear Japanese being spoken around you. But most importantly, remember that learning and using a foreign language should be fun. Described as the devil's tongue by 16th century European missionaries, the Japanese reading system has been berated by some as being overcomplicated and cumbersome to learn. 3 scripts and the need to learn 2000 Chinese characters to read a newspaper may seem daunting, but here are some interesting considerations. At almost 100%, Japan has the second highest literacy rate in the world. Japan has the highest readership of newspapers in the world. If you visit Japan without being able to read Japanese, it is that much more difficult to be able to get around. There are signs in English, but not always. People often assume that Chinese and Japanese are similar. In fact, the Chinese language is very different from Japanese language in structure, and it is not in the same family of languages. Before the 6th century AD, Japanese was a spoken language only, and messengers traveled around to convey important information to people orally. The ancient Chinese had developed a writing system in the 14th century BC that spread to the Korean peninsula and from there to Japan in the 4th and 5th centuries AD. There are also many Korean and Chinese influences on Japanese culture and religion. Both Korea and Japan adapted these Chinese characters, also known as Kanji, to fit their own language. And even in China, the Kanji developed over 3000 years ago have been revised, changed, and abbreviated over many years. There are 3 scripts in Japanese language. Actually 4 if you include Romaji or Romanized script, in other words the Western alphabets. These 3 scripts are Kanji, otherwise known as Chinese characters, Hiragana and Katakana. Each has its own specific function, and the 3 are used in combination in written scripts. Kanji or ideographs that convey a specific meaning, word or idea. The simplest and earliest of these were pictographs. These were pictures drawn by the Chinese of the world around them, such as the sun, moon and trees, which were gradually standardized into the kanji used today. There are kanjis to represent all aspects of language, including concepts, feelings and ideas, and extensive kanji dictionaries can have as many as 40 to 50,000 kanji. However, in 1981, the Japanese Ministry for Education produced an approved list of 1945 kanji for daily use, known as the Joyo kanji. These are the kanji needed to read texts such as the newspapers thoroughly. The learning of these 1945 kanji is spread throughout the 9 years of compulsory education. In addition to these 1945 Joyo kanji, there are a further 284 more unusual kanji that are used in names, and Japanese parents may look even beyond these additions to find auspicious kanji when naming their kids. The rules for writing kanji are very precise, and the correct order for writing each kanji is learned and practiced repeatedly at schools. There are different styles of calligraphy in Japanese language system. For example, kaisho. The characters are easily recognizable here, but for example in sosho, which is called grass writing, the characters are often abbreviated or linked to each other in a rounded and flowing style. Hiragana and Katakana are collectively known as Kana. This is different from the Western alphabet system. Here, each symbol is a letter and letters are grouped into sounds. Kana syllabary was introduced by a Buddhist priest named Kukai. Hiragana and Katakana is not an alien idea to English speakers, for there are essentially two alphabets in English language, capital and lowercase, which both represent the same letters, but in Japanese language, the two kana scripts exist for different purposes. The word hiragana means rounded or easy to use, and it indicates both the shape and relative simplicity of the script. Hiragana was necessary in order to adapt the Chinese writing system to the Japanese language. It was during the Heian period that hiragana developed to allow for a more pure expression of the Japanese language. Today, hiragana symbols are used to write the grammatical parts of words and sentences and Japanese words that have no kanji. You will learn more about this in units to follow. The next is katakana. This word means partial because katakana symbols were developed from part of kanji characters. Katakana was thought to have been invented by the same Buddhist priest who invented hiragana, Kukai, in order to write out Chinese and Sanskrit Buddhist texts phonetically. Today, its main use is for writing non-Japanese words that have been introduced into the language. Japanese language is traditionally written downwards, and you begin reading from the top right of a page. This means that books are opened from what we would consider to be the back. We will see how to write hiragana in the next session. That's it for today. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu.